OCO, Isil Dogwado, Jalagi Sawoni. Isil's my Cherokee name. Jalagi Sawoni is asking a question. Do you speak Cherokee? I hope most of you said, which means yes, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you said claw, which means no, okay? But at least we're trying to learn. Here's your story for today. At one time, a young woman went to go stay with her grandmother and her grandfather. Now, Grandma and Grandpa would help you when you're little, and this is what this woman was doing. She'd go there, she'd clean their house, she'd take care of the things, she'd be out there cooking, she'd be working in the garden. And one day while they're sitting there looking at that granddaughter, she begins to grow older and older as time goes on. And every year she goes and she takes care of her Grandma and Grandpa. That's what you're supposed to do. Grandma and Grandpa took care of you when you're little, you're walking along, you bump, you fall down, they pick you up, dust you off, let you go play some more. Grandma and Grandpa, they get older, they walk, fall down, you help them up, pick them up, dust them off, let them go off and do what they're doing. So it's kind of a circle of life thing. So as Cherokees, we're taught early on to respect and take care of our elders. So Grandma's been teaching that granddaughter how to weave baskets, and she makes one of the tightest baskets in the world. But even as tight as she can make it, it still leaks water. Even though they need water for that garden, she still has to get her granddaughter to say, come help me, I need water for the garden. Would you go to the river, bring us some water for the garden? So that granddaughter weaves a tightly woven basket, takes it to that creek, dips it in that water, comes back as fast as she can, because she knows the water's dripping out. When she gets back, she waters that garden. Day after day, year after year, goes and takes care of her Grandma and Grandpa. One day, that girl's out there in the field. She's become a young woman. While she's out there, Grandpa's looking at grandmother and says, you know what? I don't know what we would do without that young girl. She always comes, she helps every year. It's amazing. We raised her right. Grandma says, yes, we did, but you know what? One day that girl's gonna get married. And Grandpa says, oh, if she gets married, what are we gonna do? We might lose her. And Grandma says, oh, we won't lose her. She'll get a young warrior. He'll be able to hunt. Maybe she'll even bring some food from his hunts. We might have bear meat and deer meat again. Grandpa says, oh, that sounds good. Granddaughter, are you dating anybody? The girl says, no, Grandpa, I'm just working. I'm just trying to take care of your fields. Love taking care of you and Grandma, but I'm just working. Don't have time right now to look for a husband. And Grandpa says, well, I'm kind of disappointed. I was looking forward to some deer meat maybe later on. So they sat there, and later on, they gather some food from that garden. They're cooking, and they go to sleep that night. Well, fall comes in. As the fall comes in, these warriors show up. There's two of them, an older one and a younger one. The younger one's sitting there learning the traits from this older one. The older one's leading this younger one, saying, we must go from town to town. Towns are scattered all across this area. We go to the towns, we make sure everybody's being taken care of. Take messages back and forth for the chiefs. The young warrior says, yes, I understand. It's a hard job. It's a tough job. The old warrior says, you got to be able to defend yourself from mountain lions, bears out here, wolves, also be able to hunt, take care of yourself. I have no time to look for a wife, but I finally found one. You, young man, you're going to take over for me. You're going to be out here one day, walking through here, making sure everybody's taken care of. And while they stop beside that creek where that girl gets that water, they're sitting there and the fog's built up. And the warrior says, we'll stop here for tonight. We'll stop here, we'll camp. And so they sat down, they begin to make camp, and they begin to talk. The young warrior sitting there saying, I see what you mean. It's tough being out here, but I don't mind going out and helping. But every town we go to, some of those women, they try to marry me off to their daughters. The old man says, yeah, that happened to me too, but don't worry about it. One day you'll find the right one. Okay? But we still got to go from town to town and make sure everybody's taken care of. And the messages we get sent back and forth between the chiefs. So the warrior goes to sleep. Fog builds thicker and more dense throughout the night. Next morning, Grandma comes out and says, whoa, it's so thick out here. Granddaughter, we need some more water for the garden. I know it's thick out there. You be careful. You watch out. Okay? There's bears out there and wolves. Granddaughter goes out, gets a tightly woven basket, goes to that creek. She makes her way down there. Now she's sitting there. She's looking for a spot to go out there and get that water. She happens to look up. The noise she's made is woken up the warriors, and they stand up and they're looking. But because they can't see each other, they're all trying to see what's going on across that fog. The older warrior's saying, there's something over there. I can't tell what it is. It's bent down kind of low. The young warrior grabs the weapon and says, what do you think it is? Says, I'm not sure. And while they're looking, the young woman's looking too. She's really, really still. And as she's watching, she's looking and she's staring. And as she's looking through the fog, she said, I wonder what that is. Grandma says there might be bears. And while she's sitting there holding that basket, the fog clears just for a second. The old warrior says, oh, I know what it is. It's a young girl. She's out here with a basket. Maybe she's getting some water. And the young warrior peeks up and looks and says, she's beautiful. I think I found my wife. Starts to wave. And as he's waving, the young girl stops and thinks, that is a little bear. There's a bear waving at me. I better just go home. And as she starts to walk off, she starts to leave. The young warrior says, she's leaving. I got to do something to get her attention. Starts to wave, starts to dance, starts to sit there. He begins to sing. And the Mud Dauber comes flying out and lands right beside him and begins to talk to him. And the Mud Dauber has brought some plants and leaves, says, here, I bring medicine for you. Your young man there, he seems to be sick. He's having some kind of fit. He's kind of rolling around on the ground. The warrior says, I think he's trying to dance. He's trying to impress that girl over there. And the Mud Dauber flies up and says, oh, I know that girl. She's a good girl. She comes here every other day. Sometimes she comes 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes she comes out here and gets water. She takes care of her grandma and grandpa. They live on that area. I get mud from their gardens, too. And the warrior says, well, we need to go to the next town. But the young warrior says, but I love her. I think I found my wife. And so the old warrior is looking at that young man, and the Mud Dauber says, wait. I know about love. I can help that young warrior. I tell you what, I'm going to go over there and talk to that girl. I'll get her to fall in love with you. And the Mud Dauber takes off, flies over there. Gets right beside that girl, starts to buzz around her face. And as she's sitting there trying to get water, she's starting to swing at him. Finally, she puts the basket down and says, leave me alone. I'm trying to get water for Grandma and Grandpa. And that Mud Dauber just flies closer and closer. Finally, she's sitting there. She says, I've had it with you. She picks up a stick. I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to take you down, and starts to swing. Come here. You're mine. As he's swinging, she's dodging as fast as he can. All they can hear across the creek from the warrior and the young man sitting there watching is this. You're mine. I'll get you. You're mine. Come back here. The young warrior turns and looks at the old warrior and says, that Mud Dauber's love magic is powerful. She's chasing him. She wants him. And so the old warrior says, yeah, I didn't know Mud Dauber had that much power. The Mud Dauber comes flying back a little while later and says, well, she loves me, but I don't have time to get married. I'm too young anyway. And the old warrior says, well, what happened? Well, she got my house, and she threw it in the fire pit, and she burned it. She thought that would get rid of me, but I can make another house tomorrow. I'll see y'all later. And the Mud Dauber flies off. The old warrior says, come on, we got to go to the next town. And they leave. As they leave, the young warrior looks around and marks the spot where he saw that girl, so he'd remember. A few hours later, here comes that woman again. The clouds lifted up, but this time she has Grandma and Grandpa, and they both have sticks. And she's telling her grandmother, right here, that Mud Dauber flew around my face, right here. Got in my face, got on my hair. I couldn't get it. I threw his house in the fire pit. I burned it. Maybe he's gone now. Grandma looks at granddaughter and says, well, maybe it is gone. Let's make sure that house is gone too. Grandma takes that stick inside that fire pit, ashes, and begins to stir it. The Mud Dauber's house rolls out now, hard like a rock. Grandma picks it up and looks at it and says, I need clay. Go get me clay like this Mud Dauber's house. The grandma sits there and watches as the granddaughter gathers some clay from the riverbanks and creeks and brings it to Grandma. Grandma shows that granddaughter how to make the very first Cherokee pot. And when they wait, and she says, you used fire to burn this? And the granddaughter says, yes. They wait for it to dry. And when it dries, just like that Mud Dauber's house, they get it and they put it inside that fire and they burn it. And this is where we got our pottery. We got it from a Mud Dauber, a young woman who'd always go out there and help her grandma and her grandfather. And once she learned how to make her pots, and her pots became well-known around the area, she finally found love. And guess who she found? She found that warrior who came back looking for her. There's your story. Well, just get down.